Welcome to the Local Domination Podcast, your ultimate guide to get local clients fast. Featuring interviews with local marketing and lead generation experts who will show you exactly how to attract local clients and dominate your market. And now, here's your host, Doran Aldana.
Get this. Every day, local prospects are searching for your products or services online, and they're looking for someone they can trust. Are you capturing that business? How would you like to dominate the local search results with more 5-star rave reviews than any of your competitors so you become the only logical, trusted choice? I call it Operation Domination. Download a free copy of our Ultimate Testimonial Toolkit now at mytestimonialengine.com/domination. Again, that's mytestimonialengine.com/domination and discover how to build your business at the speed of trust. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Local Domination Podcast, your ultimate guide to getting local clients fast. And this is your host, Doran Aldana, for another awesome episode. And today I've got a very special guest expert. Her name is Bernice Ross. She is the CEO of realestatecoach.com. She's an author, trainer, speaker with over 20 years of real estate experience. And she's literally written over 1,000 articles in various industry publications and niche journals and such. And she's the author of a brand new book titled The PQ Factor. It's a book on persistence, and the PQ stands for persistence quotient, I'm assuming. Correct me if I'm wrong. But
Correct.
Yeah, so we got the IQ, we got the EQ, and now we got the PQ. So I'm very interested to learn more about that. So thank you so much for hanging with us today, Bernice. It's a pleasure to have you.
Doran, I'm delighted to be here.
Fantastic. Well, why don't we start off with just a little bit about your journey? For those who are not familiar with who you are, how did you get to be a real estate coach, and how did you learn about the power of persistence? I'm curious.
Well, first of all, I've been licensed for well over 20 years. I won't say how many, but my background is in psychology, and I started teaching college when I was 22. And from there, I bought my first condo. And then they canceled summer session. I had no money to make my payments. So I thought, well, if I could sell one house in the summer, I could pay for my house payments. I sold 2 houses my first month, 8 my second house. Thought, why did I go to school to get a degree? And then we got the first downturn in my life, and I thought, I'm glad I didn't quit my day job. So I stayed in real estate, and I was also teaching full-time at the college level in psychology. So that's kind of my backstory. Little life balance problem there, Doran, do you think?
Certainly a lot of persistence and work ethic, no doubt about that.
Absolutely. Well, anyway, I was working for John Douglas Company, and they were the top producing company per agent in the United States. And I became executive director of training there because of my education background. We had 4,000 agents, and we were selling $1 billion a month in real estate in the 1990s, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97. We were cranking that kind of money. And that's a pretty amazing amount, even in today's dollars. And if you think back 20 years ago, it's really almost 25 now when you think about it. So that's my background in real estate. And it's funny, Doran, because people come to us for real estate coaching. And I thought I was going to get out of real estate training. What they're really looking for is telling them how to do things. They want to know, how do I market? How do I get clients? They don't need a coach who helps you overcome the obstacles. I mean, you do need one from that point of view. A good coach is going to help you deal with the obstacles that get in the way, but a trainer tells you what to do. So I'm going to play trainer, quote, consultant today, because I do know what works because I've been doing it for a long time, and also I've been writing for Emin. And because I've had a column with Brad's publication for the last 15 years, the thing that I'm really blessed is I get to see the brand new companies when they're first coming out. I get to talk to the movers and shakers and see what's coming down the pike. And that's very exciting to me, that plays into, I think, one of the questions you were going to ask me, which is the theme for today, about being a step ahead of the competition.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But before we get into that, I think we should get really down to the nitty-gritty on what is behind success, because you've obviously had a lot of success in your career and people come to you and pay you big bucks for consulting and coaching and all that. And I think a big misconception in business is that if I just learn that next tip or that next secret or that next tactic or that next strategy, then everything will break loose and all of a sudden I'll have an avalanche of business and things are just going to be cranking. But the secret to my breakthrough is going to be in some kind of a tactic, something I don't know that I don't know. And once I get it, that's going to be the secret that really unlocks everything for me. And, you just wrote this book, PQ quotient, the PQ factor, and it's about persistence, which is more of the emotional mindset, the inner game of success. Most people don't get to success because they quit right before they're about to have their breakthrough. So perhaps you could tell us a little bit about the mindset. We've got people on this podcast who have local-based businesses. They're wanting to dominate their local market. But of course, their most formidable foe is themselves. They're stinking thinking. They quit too easy. They feel overwhelmed. They feel fear. They feel, they just want to shrink back to the comfort zone. They don't want to take risks. They prefer to push paper instead of getting out there and smiling and dialing and doing things that are uncomfortable. So our most formidable foe in success, as always, of course, is the foe within, the one who gets us to shrink back instead of step out boldly. So tell us about what it takes to condition persistence, and not just stupid persistence where you're just banging your head against the wall doing the wrong thing over and over and over again saying, eventually if I keep doing this, it's going to work. But I'm talking about intelligent persistence where you keep trying different things until you unlock the code and create the breakthrough. What does it take to condition that kind of a mindset? Because at the end of the day, this is not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in a day. It's going to happen daily. So perhaps you could give a few tips on what that takes, and perhaps also a little bit about your journey on how you discovered how to cultivate persistence within yourself.
Okay, a lot of questions there. Let's start with the book. The tagline on the book is the PQ factor: stop resisting and start persisting. And what happens is, I don't care what, and the book is a general market book, so it deals a lot. It's in the self-help area, but it really has a lot of application to business. Mm-hmm. And specifically what happens, Doran, is that we get pulled off of our main goals by the little things in life. So I use the phrase, stop resisting, start persisting.
I like that.
To improve your business, the first step is to stop giving in to the little things that pull you off. So I'm always going to struggle with my weight. My dad's side of the family is all 200 pound plus with heart disease and diabetes. I got that gene pool. But fortunately, I'm healthy. My doctor told me early on I had to keep my weight down or I would have it. But so what happens is the way that, there's a certain kind of avocado cooked potato chips from Colorado that are really fantastic. And if those are in my house, they are going to be in my mouth. The whole bag will be gone in 24 hours.
Right.
So the resistance step now, when you go to the market, Journey, question for you, do you walk down every aisle?
No. I normally stay on the outside of the aisle because my wife is a health freak. So she taught me that little secret, just hang out on the outskirts, because all the outskirts of the shopping store tend to be healthier stuff, fresh veggies, fruits, and meats and stuff, not so much all the dead food in boxes in the middle. So I stay away from that part of the store. Precisely.
So that's the point. So what happens is the way for me to avoid the potato chips is to stay out of the potato chip aisle, and I'm using a behavior that I already do. I don't go down every aisle. So if I avoid the aisle, I don't come with the potato chips,
mm-hmm.
Or you shop on the outside corners. But that's the same thing that works in your business. We get pulled off by games, video games or a phone call that is not important, or it's a spam call, but it breaks your concentration. So what you're looking for to begin with is identifying those places where you get pulled off of your focus. So that's the first step. Then the second step, and I go directly to, I've got a model called the Persist model. But before we get into that, I want to address mindset. So to our listeners, if you're by yourself, and if I was doing this as a live seminar, what I would like you to do is I'd like you to stand up, put your hands above your head, and if you're sitting, you can do this. You're waving at the ceiling. You got to look up at the ceiling. And when I do this live, 99% of my audience has a smile on their face. And the reason is that when you were a baby, you would reach up, if provide your mom wasn't mommy dearest, you would reach up to your mom and, she'd pick you up, and hold you and feed you. And if you think about it, in our society, my team scores a touchdown, my favorite football team, my hands are going to be in the air, I'm cheering. And also a lot of our dances have our hands above the head. This is anchored in our body. This is from neuro-linguistic programming. Mm-hmm. And what it is that this particular movement is associated with feeling good. So say you're having a bad day, something's gone wrong in your business, or you've had a fight with your spouse or significant other, and you want to get yourself into a better place. Just look up the ceiling and wave your hands. And that's one of the tricks to doing it. The second trick that will put you, the second trick I'm going to talk about, really simple way. So I assume almost everybody listening to today's podcast has a phone. They listen to music on their phone or their iPod, or but they're using some sort of music app in most places, in most situations. So what happens is your two hemispheres in your brain, sometimes they're in sync with each other because they each have different wavelengths, and other times they aren't. So when you have a great day, your brain is generally, both sides of your brain, are in synchrony. You're having one of those days where, I got up on the wrong side of the bed, I don't feel good, then you're out of sync. So the way that you put yourself into sync is listen to your very favorite tunes. And the way you can tell if it's going to sync up your brain is you want to snap your fingers to the tune and get up and dance. And you'll find that your music apps, what they do is they actually will give you beats that are the same for almost all the songs that you listen to. So I listen to a wide variety of stuff, but sometimes it's Mozart and sometimes it's Bob Seger or Meatloaf or something that's got, a real driving beat to it. But that beat is the same across almost all the songs that come up for me, because that's what drives me, and it makes it puts my brain in sync, and it changes from person to person. So you can do the wave your hands in the air and listen to 5 to 10 minutes of your favorite music. And this will get your brain physiologically ready to perform well. So that's one of the things. That's a little bit of the brain psychology and back of what it takes to be persistent, because it's easier to deal from a point of strength than it is from your weaknesses. So let me give you another example. So Dorian, are you a night owl like I am? Are you up in the morning ready to go? Or are you best in the middle of the day?
I'm definitely a morning person. 9 o'clock hits and my brain shuts down. So I get up at 5 a.m. though, so it gives you an idea. I like to get the early worm.
Well, and I'm sleeping until 9. I'm probably up until 11. I'll wake up from one of the things about getting older. We actually sleep in shifts as you get older many times. But then I'll have like 3 to 5. I think this morning I dozed off at 7. My alarm went off at 8, and it's like, oh man, I want to sleep until 9. But the point is that identifying when your peak times are for your body, you're going to get the most done if you're performing in those peak times.
Right.
So
which for me is not 9 o'clock. It's like from 5:30 till 2, probably 5:30 in the morning till 2, and then I have a serious waning of my energy around 2, and then I get a second wind, but definitely more in the morning and early afternoon for me. So that's interesting to say. I've never put the two together, but that makes a lot of sense.
So, so in terms of when you're going to do the hard parts of your business, you're not going to be prospecting for customers, at least by calling at 5 a.m. in the morning, unless some people are up really early.
Right, Eastern time.
Yeah, well, yeah. Oh, and you're 5 Eastern? Oh, yeah. You can get the night owls on the West Coast who are the tech people, though. That's a thought because they're up until 1 or 2. But this idea is to actually focus on your strengths. And that's the other thing I want to talk about in terms of the book, because I have my model is the PERSIST model, and it stands for P, which is perspire, E is embrace your strengths, R is increase your resilience, S is selfish, and that means taking care of yourself so that you can help others, not selfish like self-centered. Mm-hmm. Become more internally anchored, which means feeling that you're in charge of your choices. S is serve, and then T is for timing. So those are the factors here, and we can go into them if you want. But I think for your listeners, because the question was really how can they help their business? So one of the things I like to assign to real estate people, but this applies across all businesses, I ask them to look at where's their business coming from? So from a real estate perspective, what I want to do is, okay, which areas am I selling in? What's the profile of the people who are buying from me age-wise? Are they married? Are they single? What kind of jobs are they in? Are they from a certain place in the country? Am I attracting clients who are from offshore? So what you're looking is, what is the profile of what you are already attracting? And then what you want to do is market to more of those people, because it's easier to attract people like we're already attracting than it is to get someone who is not part of that profile. So in terms of embracing your strengths, look at your business. Who have you attracted? What kinds of people are drawn to your business? What's their age? Where are they spending time having fun? And identifying that, and then going after those people. And you've got your customers. Look at, make what I call an ideal client list. I was doing a coach training call a number of years ago. I was leading it. It was on building your business. It was on entrepreneurship. And, the coaches on the call, they're not, a lot of them were business people, and I could tell they're just kind of, not really engaged, but it was a requirement. But one of the coaches on the call said he had built his business up. He made $300,000 his first 6 months of being in the business. And I'm thinking, you guys aren't paying attention. You're missing something that's really important here. So I said, his name is Matt. I said, Matt, so tell me, what did you do to attract this much business right from the beginning? He says, I sat down and made a list of all the characteristics of my ideal client, right down to the shoes and tie and belt he wore. And I asked him, I said, well, Matt, has the ideal client, has that person shown up in your business? He says, no, but a lot of his brothers and sisters have.
Right. Yeah, most people don't get what they want because they don't know what they want. So that's where clarity comes in. Clarity is power, but it's such a simple thing, but how many people do it? So few people do this little simple step. I think most people are so busy being busy, they don't have time to be productive. And this is a perfect example of those little vital few activities that really pushes the needle on profit and performance at the highest level.
Let me reframe this for a little bit. Have you read Michael Gerber's book, The E-Myth Revisited?
I certainly have. Awesome.
So you know the distinction. And for our listeners who have their own businesses, what Gerber does is he says, he describes there's 3 pieces to your business. There's the rainmaker, lead generator, there's the technician who delivers the service, and then there's the manager. And I am rainmaker through and through. Mm-hmm. And I do deliver services because I speak and I write. I have no business managing. I need to delegate that out. But the thing that's important that he talks about is identifying your strengths and delegating what doesn't fit. But then the other piece here is you want to be able to work on your business, not just in your business. Working in your business is delivering your services. But, at least once a week, and certainly once a month, you want to do a more thorough evaluation. But look and say, where did my business come from this last week? What do my numbers look like? Where should I be? Where else do I need to be prospecting to get more information, or to get more news, or to get more information about my business out there? I'm looking at what's coming in, what's working, what's not. And again, you want to double down what's working right now. So what's working for me in the summer of my business might be very different in the wintertime just due to the weather. Other kinds of businesses, it might not make any difference. Or maybe you've got a seasonal business where you adjust your product line and everything to reflect the season of the year. It's identifying what's working at that moment in time, and then again, developing your strengths. So my friend Joanne Fossen has a wonderful saying, no one ever got to the top by developing their weaknesses. Mm-hmm. Let them go and focus on the 1 or 2 or 3 things that you do very well.
Well, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you about this. I know we had some other things we wanted to talk about in terms of marketing and tactical stuff, but when you mentioned the PQ factor and the fact that you've got expertise in a real, integral part of success, the mindset, the inner game of success, and really inextricably linked to that is persistence. Never heard of anybody who created anything great in life by quitting. And sure, you can quit when it doesn't work, but when you find what works, you want to pour gasoline on the fire on it, and you got to press in, you got to press deep, and you got to keep going until it takes root and bears fruit. So tell us about how we can start to, as you say, be one step ahead of our competition when it comes to bringing that persistence to marketing that works. We've got local business owners from all different categories, different verticals. We've got real estate professionals, we've got mortgage professionals, we've got spa owners, we've got chiropractic, dental, you name it. One thing that is in common with all of them is they're wanting to reach more people. They're wanting to attract more of their ideal clients. They're wanting to do it more consistently, more reliably, more predictably, and more profitably. So if we look at the vital few, as opposed to the trivial many, that really makes the difference that makes the difference in terms of bringing a persistent mindset to effective marketing, what should they stop doing when it comes to marketing that doesn't work, and what should they start doing that can really start to pour gasoline on the fire when it comes to attracting their ideal clients?
Well, to begin with, the first thing you need to do is to talk to the people that you're attracting. Ask them about what attracted them to your business, and specifically, have you heard Seth Godin's term sneezer?
Sneezer, I have not.
Okay, so what sneezers are? These are people who, and we all have these friends, they're always telling us about something that they've just discovered that they love, and they're always talking about the new thing that they love. You're looking for the sneezers in your business who love you and who promote your business, because you want to attract more of them. This is word of mouth marketing. It is the best way to market any business. In fact, in real estate, I think the numbers are actually 60 or 70% of the business still comes from referrals. In other words, that business is sitting in your sphere of influence right now. Mm-hmm. So the question is, what is drawing them? What is drawing these people to you? And again, you want to be able to reach different people and different types. If you've got a chiropractic business, then obviously some of the places you're going to be looking are health-related groups, gym-related groups. There's depending if you're in a major metropolitan area or not, there's a site called meetup.com. That's MEETUP, meetup.com. And what happens is they host tons of different kinds of meetings for all kinds of groups. Now, if I was a veterinarian, man, I would be on meetup.com, because here in Austin, we have just one of the many meetup groups is the Austin Chinatic Society. You know what that's about, Doran? You want to take a guess?
I have no clue.
It is the Austin Chihuahua Enthusiast.
Is that right?
Over 1,000 members. So if you love your little dog and you want to meet more people for your business.
Right.
So you're looking for people who are like you. We will do business. This is like attracts like. So if you want to have really great customers and clients that love what you're doing, then be that. And I want to suggest that if you haven't read Bob Berg's book, it's Bob Berg and John David Mann, called The Go-Giver. Mm-hmm. Fantastic little book, less than a 2-hour read. It's almost like a parable, nice little story. But the big takeaway from that book is that if you want to receive in your business, you need to give elsewhere. Mm. So, and there's a cycle of giving and receiving. So I've seen, I've seen restaurants promote their business with realtors. And what happens is, say I'm opening a new restaurant or I have a new location, then I might I might invite a realtor who's got really kind of major standing in the community to co-host an event with you to publicize your new restaurant. And, they invite their people, you feed them, but you're getting free publicity for doing that. You're getting all that marketing. So what you're doing is playing to your strength, which is providing great food and a great experience. And you're capitalizing on their database. They're getting the advantage of getting, a party or something hosted for their clients at less money. Or, you figure out what the arrangement's going to be. But I've seen that in a number of different realtors are doing that just as a way to get it out there, because they host high client appreciation events. So the idea here again is when you give somewhere, then it's going to show, the person you're giving to, it's not usually the person who's going to be giving back to you. It just comes to you. It's almost like magic. I was really astounded when I found this. Also, if you're going after millennials, you want the younger generation, they're going to be looking at your community service activities. Are you providing, again, if you're in the restaurant business or some sort of food related, are you providing some sort of food or something that supports, a charity walk? Or are you providing service? Are you someone that gives back at your place of worship? Again, when you give in these places, it comes back to you in your business. It seems a little bit weird, but this is give to get marketing. It works. I've been doing it for 20 years. It really does work.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's the tried and true law of reciprocity. The more you give, the more you get. But of course, most of us are so bent towards looking at our need that, as Jim Rohn would say, we neglect to plant our seed. We go to the garden of life and we're so narcissistically, myopically focused on our need, we neglect to plant our seed. And as Jim Rohn so aptly said, don't bring your need to the garden, bring your seed, because the garden will just laugh at you if you bring your need. What we need to bear fruit and have a fruitful life is to plant good seed. And so I think that's a big part of what you're talking about. And doing it strategically.
Let me get you to pause there, because when you're feeling needy, you're not in abundance. And if you're needy, you're going to attract needy people or people who lack abundance. And I want to attract people who have plenty of money to buy my product if I'm in a business. Mm-hmm. So the idea of being in abundance it's one of the best ways to get there. And I talk about this in the book, is this notion of nourishing yourself first. And if for the women who are on the call, if you've had a baby, you know that you can't nourish your baby if you're not fed adequately enough. Mm-hmm. So if you are coming with me, then identify what that need is. That is blocking you. And one of the ways to shift from neediness to abundance is to start saying thank you for all the things that you have in your life. And you'll find some people say, oh, well, everything is going wrong in my life. No, excuse me, did you have a car to drive here this morning? I see you walked in on 2 legs. Was the water on? Was the air conditioning on? Did you have, fresh food to eat today? And you start looking down at all the things to be grateful for, because when you are grateful, you attract people who are grateful for your services. And again, it sounds kind of strange, but that's how it works. So there's 2 pieces to this. It's expressing gratitude for what you have, and it's being willing to give back to others. And this is really the law of attraction. So what I'm talking about in the attraction model is not doing more and more of the same thing. It's dialing for dollars, prospecting by, having to sell people on your services. Instead, be of service, and you will attract people who are of service, and they're the ones you want to do business with because they appreciate your service to them. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I talk about in the book, it's in the notion of increasing your resilience. But my husband's 2 brothers, both were very successful in very different ways, and he is the nice guy who's another coach. He's one of the best business coaches in the world. He's trained over 2,000 coaches, but he is the nice guy who makes people smile. And the gift of your smile actually makes that person's entire immune system release endorphin, which provides protection against heart disease. In fact, the research is really clear. Paul Pearsall did this, and I talk about it in the book. He found that it is healthier for you to have 100 belly laughs a day than it is to jog 5 miles. In fact, if you're running all the time, you're running on adrenaline,
right?
Your body is secreting cortisol. And cortisol is what is linked to heart disease and cancer and other major illnesses. So you want to clear out the adrenaline and get more focused on, having that laughter and those smiles, because that releases the endorphins, which strengthens your immune system, and it gets rid of the cortisol, and it decreases the probability of having these stress-related diseases. And, there's a clear, Paul Pearsall did, he died, but he came back from being 84 pounds, cancer all through his body, and he found the healing power of aloha, but it's about this notion of being of service and of also laughing and having fun and loving life. Because you notice most of us don't get sick when things are going well. It's when, at holiday time, when people are real busy, they're more likely to have colds. And part of that is, it's a change in weather, but we also tend to pile in, we're working full time, and we've got to do more stuff for the holidays. That stresses your immune system, more cortisol, more likely to get sick. Well, that same dynamic plays into heart disease. Paul Pearsall's research was with heart transplant patients, and they actually showed that you could there are physical markers for heart disease, and the research is really fascinating on this too. One of the things I talk about in the book, Doran, is optimism versus pessimism. Mm-hmm. And the research, this is startling research. The benefit that you get from quitting smoking is about a 5 to 10% improvement in your chances for longevity. The benefit that you get from being optimistic is almost 10 times that amount.
Wow. And I imagine that's a big part of that is because of the cortisol and the adrenaline and the fear and the contraction and the negative vibration that all that fear and anxiety creates in your body, which is more attuned to the affliction of disease than abundance, vitality, vibrance. So obviously you bring it through thought. It's an incredible thing. And of course, we all know this. We've all heard this. This is nothing new. But of course, we need reminding more than we need educating. So thank you for reminding us, Bernice, of these simple truths.
So laugh, go watch funny movies. Take a few minutes out, look at the cat videos, but not on the time that you're at work.
Yet another reminder why we need to start off the day with some reruns of Bill Cosby or Seinfeld or whatever tickles your fancy. Get yourself some good, healthy belly laughs. You're reminding me also of the importance of the routine, because rarely in life will the quality of your results exceed the quality of your daily routines. And everything you're talking about here really amounts to a hill of beans if you just do it one time or once in a blue moon. It's really about creating a fabric of life, a routine of life that fosters health, vitality, vibrance, wealth, and success and happiness. And that doesn't happen by default. As you probably noticed, folks, it happens by design. Default mode is weeds. If you just drift through life, what you get is weeds. And it's not a matter of if it will take your garden. It's a matter of when it will take your garden if you leave them unchecked. So we have to be intentional about this. And that's what I love about what you're sharing with us, Bernice, is I'm hearing all these great things, physiology and mindset and persistence and having optimism and laughter and giving and serving and nourishing oneself first and having benevolent selfishness that increases generosity, because the more you give to yourself, the more you can give to others. All these things. And what they're all pointing to is a daily routine. And I think a big part of why people struggle unwittingly and unnecessarily is because their desires for an abundant life do not connect to their daily routine. There's a disconnect. They say they want to have more wealth, more health, more happiness, but their daily routine is moving them in the complete opposite direction. So
Jordan, let me get you to pause there, because you've hit on a very important point. And I want to go specifically to the issue of procrastination, which blocks so many people. And a lot of people, listening today, they get overwhelmed. They're struggling with their businesses or things that are happening in their personal life. And the secret here is when you're facing overwhelm, or, and Michael Stowicki, who also wrote a book on persistence, he talks about what he calls the one push-up approach. And what does, so he wanted to start exercising regularly, but, he knew he didn't want to commit to 30 minutes or half an hour. So, but what he did commit to do was one push-up a day. And it's getting past that first push-up, that first step. So it's just taking that first action step. So if you want, if you don't like the word, I hate exercising. I am a couch potato. But, the first thing I do when I get up in the morning is I get my 30 minutes in on my Gazelle, get my exercise in. And, in the book, I say I have to trick my brain into, I don't want it to realize what I'm doing until after it wakes up. But the idea here is to start with that. Now, I also want to go, so if you're procrastinating, know that procrastinating is a choice. And the way that you get around it is just to do a baby step. If you're feeling overwhelmed, things are going wrong, call one person that you've done business with, or a good friend, but someone that you know who's going to make you feel better when you talk to them. You just take that little baby step. So, I love Lao Tzu's, saying a journey of 1,000 or 10,000 miles begins with a single step. It's really putting the simple steps together. So, for your listeners that haven't read Gary Keller's book, The One Thing, that is just mandatory reading. It is a beautifully written book. And Gary he is the founder of the largest real estate company, Keller Williams, in the country. But the book is really about putting your focus on, and a lot of times, Doran, do you have any children?
I have 4. I'm a sucker for punishment.
4. You've been busy.
Yeah, 4 kids, 2 budgies, and 1 puppy as of yesterday. So I've got my hands full.
Very busy. So how old are your children?
10, 7, 3, and 1.5. So I'm in the thick of it. Okay,
so your 10-year-old, you only have 8 more summers with them before they leave you.
Yeah, that's sobering. That's a sobering thought.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that Keller points out in his book, is that when we get caught up, I can't tell you how many times I've missed, family events to go handle a client or work, to work in my business. I don't remember those people's names today, but what I do remember is those times that I did take the time. And, I used to work 7 days a week. It took me 20 years of coaching to get into taking 1 day a week off.
Wow.
And I want to encourage every one of your listeners to at least have one business-free day a week. Get somebody to cover for you if you can, or even if it's like doing from you're open until noon one day and you're not back until noon the next day, whatever that looks like for your business. Again, take that time for you. It is absolutely critical because it's time to work on your business, but it's time for you to recharge so that you're going to be when people come into your place of business and you're feeling happy and you're, really productive and you're going to attract more people. If you're tired and stressed and you're snappy, not good for business.
Very, very true. We want to work to have the abundant life. We don't want to just work so that someday in the future we'll have enough money. I've found that no matter how much money I make, if I neglect my daily routines for taking care of my body, taking care of my mind, taking care of my spirit, rooting myself on the things that matter most, keeping the priorities straight in terms of making sure my family is loved and provided for and protected, and we have quality time and we do fun things together and we adventure. If I lose sight of that and I just, I'm working just to pile up money in the account, I'm miserable. It doesn't matter how much money is in the account. If you're not crafting and cultivating an intentionally designed abundant life, then it really doesn't matter. It's fruitless. It's empty. It's hollow.
Well, I want to go to that because in the S part of the second S in my model is serve. And I had a very successful real estate business. I was working full time, also teaching. So I didn't, I'd walk out the door at 7 a.m. and get home at 10:30 at night. And I had when I was in my my mid 30s, I built a house. I was single, built a house in a guard gated community called the Summit above Beverly Hills. Had the new Jag, had the clothes, had that success, and it was still empty. And the reason is, and it took me a lot of years to figure this out. So those of you who are who are open, I hope you'll hear this, is that you can play the money game, and you can get all these things, and you look at the people that have tremendous wealth, and you look at the drug use and the suicide rates and the other kinds of things that are going on in that part of the population. And the truth of the matter is, what I found is this, something my husband helped me understand, and my mentor, whose name is Marilyn, is that where the real satisfaction in life is serving others. And sometimes your service is just, I like to make people smile. I learned that from my husband. I like to make them laugh. So when I'm around others, I try to do that because I feel good. They're laughing. They're having a good time. I was at Macy's yesterday, and this woman was just giving the sales clerk a horrible time, and her teenage daughter was rolling her eyes. And I noticed she had some interesting, different kinds of eyeshadow, and I started talking to her. But then I said something funny, and she laughed. And the mom calmed down and actually thanked the salesperson when she walked off. So that is the kind of service that you don't think about, is the gift of your smile and the gift of doing something nice. My husband will go, walk the cart back for some woman who's got kids or who's older. He'll take her cart back and put it away, in the parking lot. He just talks to people, and that service gives to all kinds of people, but it also attracts people into your business.
And most importantly, we're happier. And at the end of the day, isn't that why we want the bigger house or the bigger business or more clientele or the bigger bank account or the boat or whatever it is that we think we want? At the end of the day, we want it because we think it's going to make us happier. Well, what if we could cultivate happiness on the journey along the way? What if that was the secret to making it avalanche into your life even faster, quicker, easier, is to enjoy the journey. Stop stressing, stop making molehills into mountains, and just enjoy the ride. Breathe deeply, roll your shoulders back, wave your hands up in the air, as we've learned today. Have some fun with it. Don't take it so seriously. And I found that the better I feel, the better I do. And I think that's kind of the big idea we're wanting to drive home here. So we're almost up on time. For people who would like to link up with you, learn more about what you do and your expertise, perhaps get your book, what's the best way for them to reach out to you, Bernice?
If you want to order the print copy of the book, it's at thepqfactor.com, and we're sending anybody who wants to order the digital copy either to Amazon or Barnes & Noble. It's available there in digital form. For the realtors, visit realestatecoach.com. That's our website. But again, this is the PQ Factor for about the book. And of course, if someone is interested in knowing more, we certainly, I'm available for speaking and podcasts and everything. This is, and I had no idea we were going to go down this path today, Doran, but I'm delighted that we did. And I want to thank everybody for listening. It's been a real honor to be able to talk about this today for me.
Well, I'm glad we did as well, because if you want to be a champ, you can't think like a chump. And I think a lot of what we talked about today is the mindset, the routines, the thought patterns, the values of a champion. And once we start to get that mindset and we start to live from it, instead of just thinking of it, live from it, that's when everything changes. That's when all the doors start to break loose and magic starts to happen. So thank you for being the catalyst for our breakthrough and sharing these brilliant and beautiful ideas. What would be one thought, one idea, one golden nugget you'd like to leave us with and marinate our minds on as we wrap up this session today?
Focus on your strengths, be grateful for what you have, and serve.
I love it. I love it. It comes from a place of power. It comes from a place of abundance. It comes from a place of joy and resourcefulness. And when you feel that resourcefulness, when you come from a place of fullness, it's just a matter of time until that fullness starts to bubble up and spill over and be a blessing to others. And when we're a blessing to others, when we water others, we can't help but be watered ourselves. So thank you again for that, Bernice. I appreciate you very much. Thank you for the difference you make in so many people's lives, dancing in your strengths, walking in your gifts and breathing life into other people's journey. I really appreciate you for that. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been a delight to be with you, Doran.
And likewise. Well, that's all for now, my friends. Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Local Domination Podcast, your ultimate guide to getting local clients fast. So if tips galore that help you soar is what you adore, know this, we've got more in store. Remember, nothing happens without implementation. So in the meantime, in between time, go forth, engage. It's time for Operation Domination.